Item on the agenda is the Council on Aging and the Director, Ms. Patty Kao. Morning.
Good morning. Should we just jump right into the budget? Right into it. This year there isn't too many changes. The budget's pretty similar. You see department heads up almost 1,000 something. That's just due to the step increases. We will be noticing that the outreach position will drop this year due to our former outreach worker was a step 10, so we're going to be going down to a step 1 once we hire someone. The expense line item is pretty similar to what it has been in the past. Any questions on any of that?
So you're currently looking to hire 2 people, right?
Correct.
You just have 2.
That would be the outreach and the dispatch / receptionist.
And that's just to replace fill the vacancies.
That they are still vacant.
Okay.
I was asked to do a comparison, a staffing comparisons to other similar senior centers, which I did. Unfortunately, it's not in your packet, but I can put that to you.
Thank you.
I did the comparisons with similar towns, similar populations, senior and also overall populations. As you can see, we have 78.5 hours a week compared to the other towns. West Bridgewater, 161.5, Plainville, 134, Littleton, 135. As you see, so I thought that graph was pretty helpful just to show how other senior centers are staffed and how we are staffed. Those other senior centers are also open from 8:30 to 3:30 or 4:30, where we are open 8:30 to 2 o'clock and 4:30 on Tuesday.
Okay.
Any questions on the staffing comparisons?
Can you just speak to what program is, since I'm looking at your bar chart, which is very helpful, by the way. And I only see programming under 2 towns, so does that mean programming is somehow absorbed in different functions versus having a designated?
I can explain that. They have a separate program director who is in charge of planning the activities and the program at the senior center.
Which is kind of what you do now.
That I do all of that.
So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
okay.
It separates that out so the director can do more one-to-one with the public, go to trainings and such like that. MCOA meetings, things like that.
Anything else next?
Yeah, we did submit an above-level service request. What we're looking to do, and we have been looking to do for the past 10 years, is keep the senior center open Monday through Thursday to 4:30. And what I am proposing is to add an additional 7.5 hours weekly. That's Form 6.
It's actually, I think the form numbers here are out of order, so you just go back a little further.
Okay,
Beyond Form 7.
that's why I was confused.
Form 6, okay.
Get it?
Yep.
What we're proposing is to add 7.5 hours weekly to director and 7.5 hours to department assistant with 2 hours to outreach. The reason we decided to do it that way is because the department assistant is already a benefited position where the outreach worker is not. We thought it would be more favorable to the town to do it that way. This would enable us to open Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30. Ideally, it would be best to have the outreach position increased to the 7.5, but that position not being benefited, I don't know if that would be a possibility because of the cost of that, adding the benefits. So this is the next best case scenario for that situation, for us to be open till 4:30 to have that happen. The board wanted me to stress that we would be in the future, if this was made a possibility, to push for outreach to be a benefited position in the future.
Director and I did speak about this a little bit this past week in regards to the increase in these hours and what it would mean to the service to the seniors. And we agreed that this would be a good, at least phase one, in looking at, a dramatic increase in the hours of the center at fairly low cost to the town. $23,000 for all these additional hours and services for the seniors, and then within the next couple of years to look at maybe increasing the outreach director to expand that. But at this point, try to grow the operations of the Council on Aging a little bit moving forward next year. So assuming funds are available for it, it's something I'm certainly looking at recommending to the board for next fiscal year. And actually following up on that, I know we had talked at the last meeting about the organizational structure of the Council on Aging staff and looking at what, if there are better ways to move forward, with the structure of that department before we actually advertise. And Patty, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about our discussion and what your thoughts are as far as moving forward and any tweaks to the way that the staffing is situated there currently.
After I did the hours comparison with the other towns, I could see how the other towns function, and I did also have put in your kit a comparison with the hours, and I think that
I think this
shows,
is it right here.
Oh,
it's a double page. It's budget request, no change. It just shows the hours of operation and the staffing and how that's split up. Ideally, it'd be great to have 4 people on, but that's really not a possibility. So we really push to have 3 people on at all times. And this way, it covers for vacations, time off, sick. If we only had 3 positions there, and let's say, like we're in the situation we are in now, you'd have 1 person running the Council on Aging. So I think it's best to have the 4 positions that we do have, instead of trying to mix up maybe department assistant and dispatcher. We just need the bodies down there.
You are recommending a change in the days of week a little bit for some of the employees.
I would be requesting a change in the outreach hours going forward to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Currently, it's Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, which really isn't beneficial because Mondays we're very short-staffed. It's only myself and dispatch. But now we can take this opportunity to change those hours so the senior center is staffed appropriately.
And that the new person coming on understands that these will be their hours.
These would be the hours.
And currently, as the budget currently allows, it would be the 17.5 on the bottom chart. And what the additional services proposal shows is the top chart at 19.5 for
Correct.
that position. So you'll see if the town were to approve the additional request, it would be, the schedule would be the top chart, and if the board and the town decide to go with the current,
It would go to
it
the
would
bottom
be
chart.
what's shown on the bottom chart.
The top chart has the new positions in it?
What was
No
that?
additional positions,
No-
just additional hours.
Additional hours.
Oh, I'm sorry, for the first proposal was additional hours, yep. And that's the 23,600.
I'm sorry?
Yes, the addition-
23,600.
Correct.
And there's no benefit,
No,
no benefits cost.
the
no additional
department
benefits.
assistant is already a benefited worker.
Okay.
So that'd be the total change in cost for that change, would be the 26.
And the total, the total personnel, the total cost right now is proposing 112,526.
Correct.
That's the first budget page. So without any change in hours, it's one.
Without any change in hours.
So the $2,000 reduction because of the steps, right? From prior year.
The new employees, yes, would have to be
Yeah.
at the lower steps,
Right.
so that does save
Correct.
some funds.
That reflects that, that's the outreach workers.
So the actual incremental cost is the 23 minus the 2,000 savings, is that right?
I believe so.
In year one, it's 21,600. Is that right, Carol? Okay. Well, of course, this is a request that is not new.
No, it is not a new request.
And there are other departments that are, have been coming for a while with their requests as well. What this does do, though, is it makes a significant difference in terms of the hours of operation
It's
for
very
the
significant.
senior center. So the impact is pretty significant.
Thank you. Lauren?
Could somebody comment on available population or census data? I know we're in the middle of the census right now, but I know we had some data that related to the school population that was part of the whole decision on the Clyde Brown rebuild, but can you talk a little bit about projected demand in the town? We have a lot of over 55 developments coming on board. We have an assisted living. I don't know when that's projected to open. Do we know?
Within the next 18 months, I believe, and I believe between that and the Toll Brothers Glen Ellen project, we're looking at over 400 additional units of senior housing.
Okay. Patty, I'm all about resource sharing. Have you ever done programming, maybe hand in hand with the recreation department or maybe the school department for, say, technology classes or anything like that for the seniors? And would that be something in which you could see some of these new people developing those ideas?
Not necessarily with technology, but we do work with recreation. We recently just started a pickleball,
See
which is
that in action.
very, very popular.
Yeah.
I think it's in its second go-around,
Yeah.
but everybody wants that. And we do work cooperatively with the library. Just recently, we didn't have use of the gym. They let us use their space, and we are working on doing some programming together. I believe a senior cafe at the library, which we will be supportive of. So we are working with the different departments.
Would you have an ability to use a dedicated after-school intern for more than just a one-day community service thing for graduation, but on an ongoing basis?
Absolutely, if the hours were increased. The problem that we have with that is we close at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's really
Fair
been
point.
conflicting, so we haven't been able to be cooperatively with the school. But if we're open till 4:30, we would
But
definitely
you
be
do have
open to that.
students come over with Officer Bickford.
I'm
to
sorry,
help.
Jim?
You've had students come over with Officer Bickford to help serve the special meals, and so that's during the day.
That's during the day.
Right, right. So
And
they add, where there's availability, we are trying to work that.
Right, but the school's been working with us,
I
you
know.
know, they bring the students over during their class time. We do have a lot of maybe 3 students who help out in the kitchen
Oh,
during school time.
that's great. Last year, and I don't know when it gets recognized from a budget standpoint, we had the great fortune to receive a grant for a new van, correct?
Yes.
And then Representative Linsky came over and got behind the wheel, and it's now a famous picture in the town clerk's office. So when a grant like that comes in, did you write for that grant?
No, Representative Linsky worked with Mike on that. In the past, we have used the community transit grant. But
So when that grant came in, would that have otherwise been an expense in your budget that then now we got the grant, so now that capital cost didn't have to be funded?
correct, we had put it in an article
was in
for the
the-
town
yeah,
for
it was in the-
$50,000, and that was able to be wiped away.
Okay. So I think from a credit standpoint, I guess I want to put on the record that because of the grant, money came back to the town, and maybe something we could look at from a financial standpoint, big picture, is when that happens, when a department has taken the initiative in any way to receive a grant, perhaps there has to be an incentive for doing that, right? That now you have that $20,000 that went back into the town, perhaps 5,000 or some portion of it could have been presented as, you know what, since we got this, we now have just freed up 20, we'll take 5 and we'll reinvest it in a certain way. And it could have been for staffing. So I just want to flag maybe the mechanism of incentivizing a culture of grant seeking so that when the department is successful, perhaps they're able to do something else with money that they might otherwise have spent or might have been appropriated.
I can speak on that. It was for $50,000, and that $50,000, I believe, did go back to the COA in the form of new flooring,
Okay.
which,
Perfect.
new flooring, new paint.
Got
It
it.
looks room 18, it's
Okay.
almost
Okay,
there. I'm
great.
hoping this weekend it'll be complete, but it did go
Don't
back.
go out
Okay,
on a limb,
that's what
Patty,
I-
okay? Don't
That's
go
what
out
I
on a
wanted
limb
to
yet.
hear.
We
I think
don't wanna
that's
make any
great.
promises ahead of time.
We're not
I'm bringing
televising
it
this
to
today.
first Monday if it's not done.
Okay.
We won't televise this until it's done.
When I was gonna
Patty
win
and I
the
both are gonna be rolling paint.
I was gonna win the lottery a couple months ago, and my plan was to build a senior center with a youth center, a victory garden, and a dog park, and a walking track. So this was my grand scheme, so it's still in my thought process for the fabulous benefactor who thinks that would be a great idea.
Well, I hope you win.
Yeah. Get to play to win. I don't know.
Is the board aware of what Middlesex?
I'm sorry?
What Middlesex Bank has,
Oh,
why
that's
don't you just
really
share that?
fabulous. Middlesex Savings Bank awarded our Friends Group $15,000
Wow.
last month. We have talked to the Friends and, can I make that announcement? We would like to make an exercise room out of room 5. No cost to the town. Our Friends Group will use that money. I received a grant for $6,000 for equipment. So we're looking to provide exercise for our seniors. It's the #1 need for our seniors. Currently, they're paying $100 for 16 weeks for an exercise program that the Y provides here. We understand how important fitness, exercise is, and we want to dedicate a room to our seniors so they can do that. And we will be doing that hopefully soon.
Oh, that's fabulous. Maybe we should have Middlesex.
Congratulations, Patty.
That's
on that.
awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
That's great. And you're using the gym because now we have a fabulous air system, so we're able to do a lot more in the gym, which is great. Good, looking up. Flooding is gone and we're looking up.
All set, everyone in the audience?
I have
Oh,
one-
go ahead.
one other thing that's in the material. It's a capital request, it's not only the budget, which is the
Freezer?
study.
Oh.
Well, there's a freezer in there. I don't know whether you wanna talk about that a little bit, or,
Oh,
wait on that, Mike.
Yeah, well, to speak about it a little bit, I think is worthwhile. We, Patty and I have discussed this, and she's been before the capital committee in regards to doing a feasibility study to find out the best way to move forward and make adequate space and accommodations for the seniors in the community over the long term. And the best way to proceed with that is to have a feasibility study. Patty did reach out to an architectural firm that specializes in this and has done, I think, over 100.
Over 32 senior centers.
Over 32 senior centers in the Commonwealth.
Yes.
And has given us an estimate, depending upon the scope of the feasibility study, between 30,000 to
30,000 to 70,000.
70,000.
He quoted us, and it depends on the scope.
Right.
What are we looking for? The area, where to put the senior center. We have to decide what we're looking at.
Right,
And
until the town makes a decision, or, as to which direction to go, we're sort of just kind of spinning in circles at this point. So we need an expert to come in, look at the different needs of the center, the seniors, and then look at the different properties in the community, whether it should be an expansion at the current location somehow, or another location.
And I think most importantly, a needs analysis. What do the residents want? I mean, we all want a beautiful center. What does everybody want, So I think that's really important to put a needs assessment in there.
Well, that goes again to the question that Lauren had raised about what's the population trend. I mean, we see definitely it's grown, it's gonna continue to grow. The MAPC, when they were here talking about
I
open
was just
space,
gonna mention
has a
that.
projection there about the growth of the senior population. So, and it's cohorts of seniors as well, because just because it's over 60 or whatever it is, 65, 60? 60, the needs of a 60-year-old are not quite the same as the needs of a 70-year-old,
They're
for
very
example.
varied, yes.
Or
It's
an
like
80-year-old.
4 different
It's
segments
a
there.
little more complex than how many, but all of the cohorts are growing, including the older population. So that's really something that we need to also incorporate into our conversation.
Right. Currently, we really service the older population. I'd say 75 and up. That's, the majority of the people we service. We want to service everybody.
Right. But
So-
this particular item here is really, we have to determine whether or not we put this would be a warrant article. This is not a budgetary item for the department. If we
Right, this would be within the article that would be put together and submitted for consideration from the capital committee.
Right. Capital Planning Committee has this on its
Yes,
agenda.
they do have that on their agenda.
So this would be an item that they're considering as to whether or not to place it on an article to
Right.
forward it to the board.
Yeah, of course, the capital planning is doing the prioritization in terms of their recommendations. So this is just one of the things.
And I think we have to determine the scope of the study.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the scope of the study would not include location.
Well, it
It
could.
would
It
be.
can.
Could,
It can be
Because
anything you
I
want right
remember,
now.
I was on the police station location committee, which was an entire separate entity. Then there was another group that was designing
Mhm.
for needs.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's important that there aren't that many town-owned spaces. The police station, Dwyer Street, the triangle, is owned by the town up in there. And that was came in a close second, believe it or not, for the location of the police station. So you have to, I wouldn't waste the time on a needs study to find an adequate piece of property, how much it would cost if it was privately owned. I just want to make sure what the needs would be of the seniors and what you'd want, and let another group figure out, the selectmen would appoint another group to figure out its location.
Understood.
And also take into consideration, there's been talk, and I don't know if I'm the first one that made it public about squaring off over there, and I talked to Mr. Kaczynski about it, the building, our actual building, where you want to put a gazebo, right there. Mike, you're here, perhaps squaring that off and making that addition to the senior center. It goes to what
Interesting.
space you need.
Bocce court too, with them.
Yeah, that's a little alley that we could fit, that's not wide, but either one other floor or that, but not necessarily. everyone wants a senior center, but who's gonna pay for it?
Exactly.
And it's just like when the sewer used to be done, Mr. McCaffrey, the design, the town would pay $200,000 to design it, and it would not pass town meeting. So we have to be careful that we're not putting good money into bad on this.
Absolutely, I agree.
You have to, first thing first is figure out if the people wanna pay for it.
Exactly.
Before we spend capital committee any money figuring out. Few people write online, oh, the seniors deserve better and this and that, we all do.
But it comes time
But
to
when it
pull
comes
the money
time,
out of the
can the
pocket.
seniors afford it?
Can they?
A few can,
And a few
thank
can't.
God for them,
And most
but
of the ones we service cannot.
cannot.
And they're very vocal about that.
And I think we checked into whether we could have certain people not pay as much, and you can't do that, it's a one or
State of
done,
Massachusetts.
everybody has to do it, so. Maybe the cheap fix is putting something on in this building.
So I think we all agree that a needs assessment is the very first thing we need to do to determine, and part of that would be a survey of the seniors in the
Part of it,
community.
the first part of it.
You're right, to determine what they see as the needs.
Before we go to step B, let's do
Right,
step A, whether
right.
people are gonna pay for it.
But we definitely need more space.
Yes.
That's for
Well,
sure.
Madam Chair, I guess I'm totally in agreement with what your statement is. I mean, this is not, I don't wanna create any implication that we're gonna launch this. I mean, to find a place, design it is hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not doing that. We're trying to set some benchmarks here. And to your point, getting the seniors actively engaged in the conversation, as well as the town as a whole.
Right.
I'm encouraged by the fact that the board is taking this seriously, because it's been something that's been discussed for years. And I think that if we make this, it's a small step forward, but it's an organized thing, as you say. It's not just let's design, the sun, the
Let's
moon, and
just
the
build it.
stars when we can't afford them.
Agreed.
Well, it's gonna be more palatable at town meeting too, if you propose a study and you have the argument of even anecdotal evidence of population shifts, and you present it to the town, they're probably gonna be willing to bite off that piece of it, and then you see where that brings you, and it's gonna be a smaller amount of money because the scope will be more narrow.
Right, and that document will allow policymakers to make determinations on what the next step should be. And that will be the tool to make decisions moving forward.
Good. Thanks a lot, Miss Patty. Anything from the audience? Mike, no questions?
Why don't you go?